Thank you for watching Scary Bear Attacks. If you like this episode, please remember to hit the like button and leave a comment or two, then subscribe and click on the bell to receive notifications of whenever we release new videos. Also, please remember to share them to your social media. The dark forests of Maine conceal many things in their shadows. Apart from being the setting for several books by horror writer Stephen King, Maine is also the location for a very real and tragic horror story. But the villain wasn't a maniac or a supernatural power, but a big black bear with a seething hatred for people. Welcome back to Scary Bear Attacks. In the autumn of 1916, the wilderness of northern Maine was a patchwork of pine forests, spruce thickets, and crisp tannin-dark streams flowing cold from the Appalachian highlands. Long before modern campgrounds, this rugged terrain offered isolation, game, and silence, ideal for the dedicated deer hunter. Hunters from the northeastern states routinely traveled to these woods, pitching tents far from civilization, staking out favorite ridges, and listening to the occasional echo of rifle shots in the distance. It was a place that belonged more to the moose and the black bear than to man. That fall, a hunter named Frederick Wilson established a small camp deep in the woods, not far from two other groups of outdoorsmen. What began as a peaceful retreat quickly turned into one of the most chilling bear encounters ever recorded in Maine's backcountry, one that ended with a death, a night-long siege, and a lone survivor. Frederick Wilson, likely in his 40s or 50s at the time, was a practical man. He set up camp within a mile or two of other hunting parties, a reasonable distance for solitude, yet close enough that the men might share news or cross paths while trekking game. In this era, Maine's north woods were largely undeveloped, accessed by logging roads, horseback or mule, and the men who entered them were usually well acquainted with both hardship and self-reliance. Frederick's tent was modest, canvas shelter staked among fir trees near a cold water stream. He carried the usual equipment, rifle, field knife, hatchet, a few utensils, and perhaps a tin bucket or two. He hunted deer by day and cooked game over open flame by night. One evening while preparing supper, Frederick heard 2 gunshots ring out in the distance. He assumed with little concern that one of the other camps had spotted game or was dispatching a wounded animal. He returned to his meal. He didn't yet know that something was hunting the hunters. At first light the following morning, a man named Vic, one of the neighboring hunters, stumbled breathlessly into Frederick's camp. His face was pale and drawn, his voice cracking with alarm. He explained that he'd discovered a horrific scene at the other tent site. A fellow hunter had been dragged from his sleeping bag during the night and killed by a bear. The predator had already consumed a portion of the man's body before disappearing into the trees. Worse yet, Vic reported that the same bear had attempted to enter his own tent later that night. He had fired 2 warning shots, which startled the animal enough to turn it back, at least temporarily. Realizing the danger he was in, Vic had packed his mule and left at daybreak, riding out to alert authorities. Before leaving, he issued a grim warning to Frederick. "Be careful, that bear is still out there." Frederick remained cautious. He knew black bears generally avoided humans, but this one had killed and fed on a man and returned for more. He likely moved his supplies, kept his rifle closer, and kept one ear to the forest. Some days later, as dusk gathered in the hollows, Frederick walked down to the stream to collect some water. The forest was quiet. Cold mist clung to the rocks. On his return, he stopped dead in his tracks. A large black bear was entering his tent. Frederick's rifle, his only means of defense, was leaning against the outside wall of the canvas. The bear slipped inside before he could reach it. Trapped between the safety of distance and the danger of action, Frederick made the only choice he could. He backed away and hid himself behind a cluster of trees. From there he watched. The bear rooted through the tent like a burglar, tossing gear, sniffing packs, pawing food wrappers. Frederick feared not only for his life, but for the possibility that this was the same bear that had already killed a man. He could not risk confronting it, nor could he retrieve his weapon without exposing himself. Instead, he emptied the water from his tin bucket and struck the metal with a large stone. The ringing sound pierced the dark and echoed across the hillsides. The bear stopped. It backed out of the tent and stared into the trees, listening, but it did not leave. Instead, the bear returned to the tent and resumed its destructive exploration. All night, Frederick crouched silently beneath the branches, cold and motionless. From within the canvas, he heard banging, tearing, and the snuffling breath of the great animal. It rooted through his rations and gear, the tent now its den. Sheltering in the bushes, Frederick found no rest all night. At first light, the bear finally exited the tent. It stood momentarily in the clearing, satisfied with its night of disruption, and began to amble away through the undergrowth. Now was Frederick's only chance. Moving quickly, but carefully, he retrieved his rifle from where it leaned against the tent wall, took aim, and fired. The bullet found its mark. The bear collapsed in the brush, not far from the tent, and the ordeal was over. Frederick Wilson survived his encounter with the bear. The unnamed hunter in the neighboring tent was not so lucky, killed in his sleep and partially consumed, his body discovered only hours after the attack. Vic, the second camper, managed to escape before becoming the next victim, but Frederick came within moments of joining them. There is no record of whether the bear's body was examined for age, weight, or health, but the behavior it exhibited fits the rare documented pattern of food-conditioned or predatory black bears. The bear had returned to its scene of its previous kill, then escalated its boldness by entering tents in search of food. In many historical bear attacks, death is swift. What made this case especially terrifying was the prolonged standoff, a night of helpless silence as a bear took control of a man's only shelter in the wilderness. Fortunately, cubs were not accompanying the bear, or it may have been even more aggressive. Speaking of cubs, our Cub tier membership on Patreon linked below will give you ad-free early access to photos, notes, and episodes. And the $3 per month goes a long way in helping me continue to produce educational and entertaining content like this. Today, Maine hosts around 30,000 black bears, which average in weight between 250 and 400 pounds as adults. From 1900 to 2020, there have been 67 fatal black bear attacks reported in the United States. The bear attack victim on Frederick Wilson's hunting trip is the only recorded fatality of a human in the state of Maine due to bears. After reviewing the facts surrounding this episode, I'm left with a few questions for you. Do you think the bear found Frederick's tent by following Vic to Frederick's campsite? Was the bear drawn to the tents for the scent of the food stored there, or was it seeking out human prey? Could this have been just one of many undocumented predatory encounters? The bear that stalked the Maine wilderness in 1916 serves as a reminder that even the typical shy black bear can become a deadly predator. Frederick Wilson lived to tell the tale, but his story remains a chilling caution for anyone who dares to sleep in the wilderness without respecting the rules of bear country. I'll gladly read and reply to your thoughts, so post them in the comments section below, and let's talk about it. Thank you for watching Scary Bear Attacks. If you've enjoyed this episode, please consider clicking on the like button and clicking on the bell icon. We'll help you know when we post our new episodes. Posting our video links to your social media profiles furthers awareness, and it's fun. We slashed our prices in our merch store, linked below, so check out the bargains there while you shop. As a member of our human community, remember to adventure bravely and be careful out there, especially in bear country.